Thank you, David. I woke up this morning with a terrible case of plantar fasciitis, which is not the worst thing in the world, but it's one of the most painful things. I haven't had it for years. So I'm going to read from last year's Christmas chapbook called World War II Baby. How's that for a Christmas spirit? And the first poem is from an inward bar to a great book. Now, Inwood is was the hard drinking neighborhood, Irish Catholic Jewish neighborhood in New York City where I grew up. November 1967. The story begins in Doc Fiddler's. The anti-war protests were heating up, and some of my old neighborhood weren't having any of it. A super patriot bartender, a bit crazy, was one of the most upset. The guys we have over there won't will think we don't support him. So he seized on a plan. Someone's got to go over there and buy him a beer. What? Go over there? He had it all worked out. He was going to borrow merchant seaman's papers from a good friend of mine and go himself. The friend, John Chick Donahue, only a little less crazy at the time, knew that he couldn't give up his papers, so he said, I'll go. And so he did, with the list of local serving and a lot of beer on an ammo ship, the SS Drake. On January 19th, 1968, the Drake anchored in Quainon, and Chick set off on his adventure. And 40 years later, it became a book. The book, the story of him hitching through a war zone in a Madras shirt that made officers think he was CIA. The story of him conning officers that he was looking for his stepbrother to tell him that their mother had died. The story of him finding one local almost as soon as he got off the ship and thinking that it would be easy for the rest. The story of him finding another in an ammo base, and another being picked up in the Jeep by another as he was hitching. The story got more serious when he reached the fourth on the front lines and was issued a weapon when the enemy was sighted. The story got even more serious when he missed his ship departure and went to Saigon to look for another and got caught in the Tet Offensive. He eventually found another ship, which took him to Seattle, and the plane back to New York, then a cab back to Doc Fiddler's. And since then, he has owned a bar, worked for years at the Sandhog, and got an MPA from Harvard without having a college degree. Hopefully, I've whet your appetite. The book is The Greatest Beer Run Ever, A True Story of Friendship by Chick Donahue and J.T. Malloy. The second edition has just come out. It's number 12 on the New York Times bestseller list, and there will be a movie in next year. Poem number 2, Tommy Minogue Didn't Decide. Tommy Minogue, the younger brother of friends from my old neighborhood, didn't decide to send advisors to Vietnam. Dwight Eisenhower did. Tommy Minogue didn't decide to send special forces to Vietnam. John F. Kennedy did. Tommy Minogue didn't decide to escalate the war on the phony Gulf of Tonkin story. Lyndon Johnson did. Tommy Minogue didn't decide to heavily bomb North Vietnam. Richard Nixon did. Tommy Minogue didn't decide to bring the troops home. Gerald Ford did. Tommy Minogue didn't decide to go to Vietnam. The army sent him. Tommy Minogue didn't decide to win the Distinguished Service Cross. It was awarded posthumously. He was one of the people that Chicky went to see. He never got to see him because he had been killed while Chicky was on his way over there. And this I wrote last year on September 11th. Who won? September 11th, 2019. 18 years since that awful day, when all of our lives changed. Then we all came together, Democrats and Republicans. Rudy Giuliani became America's mayor. Hillary Clinton and George Pataki stood by quietly while Rudy took charge. President George W. Bush gave the speech of his life. Our resilience was inspiring, and the whole country adopted the once despised New York City as its own. Now it's not only back to normal, but worse. Rudy had sold his soul. Hillary has come back into the fray to be the foil of an unpopular president. A Supreme Court nominee has lied to Congress. Our two major parties cannot work together, and we have the possibly unstable president who received a national tragedy in which almost 3,000 died as a success. Did the terrorists win? Thank you.